What's up? How are y'all? Come on. There we go. You guys doing good? Good? I'm doing good. Whew. Get this clean. Okay, so this is going to be like the gazillionth time that I'm going to be recording this same bloody video. So let's see if I can get it right this time. Aperture. What is aperture? Simply put, aperture is how wide or how narrow your lens is. The opening inside of the lens, that is. Because the wider it's open, the more light gets let in, the brighter your photos are. The more narrow it is, the less light gets let in, the darker your photos are. So that is usually where you would start with choosing the aperture that you want to shoot your photos on. Now, another thing that you have to remember with aperture is the wider open your aperture is, the more blur you are going to get in your background. The narrower that your aperture is, the less amount of blur you're going to get in your background. So for portraits, you would use a wide open aperture to get as much blur as possible, if that is the effect you're after. And for landscapes, you'll use a very narrow aperture so that you can get everything in focus. The way you choose your aperture is with the f-stop. So aperture and f-stop are the same things. You'll see on your camera, you'll have f and then a number. So like f1.8, f3, f3.6, f10, f11, and so on and so forth. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture, the wider open it is, the more amount of light gets let in. An easy way to understand this and to remember this is, if you're shooting on f3 versus f10, right? A third of a fraction is much bigger than, say, a tenth of a fraction. Hence, f3 will be a bigger aperture than f11. It is as simple as that. Aperture is part of the exposure triangle, which consists of shutter speed, ISO, and then of course aperture, right? So you would set everything first, and then your ISO you'll set at the last, at the end. The ISO you'll set at the end, but we'll cover that in a different video. So how you can work around this issue is, if you're shooting in a brightly lit area, use a small aperture. If you're shooting in a dimly lit area, use a large aperture. After that, adjust your shutter speed and your ISO accordingly, which we'll cover in separate videos. Also to remember is, the wider open your aperture, the more blur you'll have in your photos, and the narrower your aperture, the less amount of blur you'll have in your photos. Now, every lens has got its sharpest f-stop. Now your sharpest f-stop is usually midway between your minimum aperture and your maximum aperture. Round about in the middle, give or take a few stops. So for instance, this lens that I'm shooting on, its sharpest is at between f8 and f11. So in that gap, I've got the sharpest video and photos. Now, prime lenses versus kit lenses versus art lenses, all of them have got different max apertures. Your max aperture is of more concern than your minimum aperture, because your max aperture is how much light gets let in. So for instance, a 50mm prime lens, you'll go down as low as f1.2, which is a huge aperture. I mean, you can literally shoot at like 10 o'clock at night with your ISO at like 400 and still get a nicely lit image. Honestly, it's amazing. The minimum aperture is not of concern, because most lenses can go up to like f22 f23, so that's all fine and dandy. Obviously, with different lenses, price comes into effect as well. So kit lenses would be much cheaper than prime lenses or art lenses or variable focal length lenses. So it's all about finding the balance in terms of when you're buying lenses, what suits your budget and what you want to accomplish with the lens. It's as simple as that. That is basically aperture. You just select it on your camera by either putting it in manual and then selecting the aperture on your own, or you put your camera in aperture priority mode, you select the aperture and the camera selects the rest of the settings to compensate for the selected f-stop that you've chosen. That's it. Yeah, hopefully this is the last time that I'll shoot this video and I'm actually going to upload it. I'm going to try my best to upload it. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys, and next time we'll cover either shutter speed or ISO. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I know I'm going to. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.